Hi everyone, this is an in-depth video on how to take your wood art from simple and basic to over the top just with a bit of paint. Okay, so we've got a wood art project. It could be any wood art project. And I'm going to show you how I use a little bit of paint to really add to the dimension of the piece. So you can see this is the bear that I have, but it is absolutely flat. It's all one height. And we're gonna really build some dimension and give this guy some life. So you're gonna need 2 brushes, a thin brush, this is called a liner brush, and then a round fluffier brush to do some diffusing, and you'll find I'll use my fingers quite a bit as well. And you need some acrylic paint. I just used the stuff from the dollar store, so this is just a black one, and I'm also going to have a brown one. For this one where it's light wood, I'm going to soften up the black with a bit of the brown paint. Okay, so basically I'm going to take my larger brush, or actually I'm going to take my thinner brush, get it wet. I'm going to just get my larger one just damp. And then I'm going to take some of the black paint and I'm going to add some of the brown to it. And we're going to give this a try. It might not be dark enough. I might want to go with more of the black, but we'll see. Generally, if this was a darker piece, like if this was a walnut piece with a walnut stain, I would definitely use the black. Or if it was more of a gray tone, I would use the black. But where this is quite light, we're going to give it a try with the brown. So you can see it's like a grayish brown. And so we're trying to build dimension. We're trying to give this to really make it the 3D effect. So you can see this is his back leg. So that would be behind. This one would come forward. So when you're painting, dark creates shadow and it makes items recede. So it makes them go back. Light colors pull forward. It makes them come forward in your eye. It makes them pop. So we know we want this to look back. So we're going to start by putting some paint just at that seam. And when you're doing shadows, you generally want to not just do an outline. You want to work in like a triangular pattern to create it more natural. And then I've got my damp brush and we're going to just diffuse that edge. We don't want to go onto the piece on top. We're just working with the lower piece, but we'll diffuse it to soften that up. And that's the start of a great shadow. The color looks like it's good. So I'm going to add a bit more. I'm going to come down the leg a bit. Because again, this would be underneath and back. So I'm just going to diffuse everything. There we go. So I think that's a good start. And then I'm going to just give the edge of his little foot just a hint of the darkness. Come through and just diffuse that. And I should say this wood has been finished with a stain, so it is sealed somewhat. And I stained it with an oil-based stain and then I let it dry. So you can see that's already starting to build depth. It's already starting to push that leg back. So let's do the same thing here. This would be his front leg. These two would be on the front and this would be in the back. So we'll do the same thing. We'll start with the shadow here. And then we'll grab our damp brush. And when you're doing shadows, I find personally it's always better to do a couple light coats than try to do it in one thick coat. You get a better result. And if you've got too much going on, wipe it off on a paper towel, wipe it off with your finger. And I'm putting my brush to the edge where the paint is and pulling it inward. We're just going to diffuse that edge. Okay, so that's the start. And then now the wood already has some moisture on it. So everything is going to it'll blend that much better. So we'll go in with just a bit more. Go ahead and work the edges, pulling it out. And we'll start building that down here a bit. And I always say with these wood projects, you don't need to do this by any means, but it really makes a nice difference. Adds just a lot of depth to the piece. And I find it really makes it your own, but you definitely don't have to do it, but I love it. It's my favorite part actually of these. I feel it really just brings the piece to life. All right, so you can see that one is now pushed back as well. Okay, so we've got some depth going on there. I'll probably go back and darken them once they dry. Another area we want is I want to make this part here to show that that leg is going over the belly, just to give some dimension. So I will use some through here. But now it will be less because these two are going to be one of the darkest shadows we have going on here because they are at the back and the bottom. And you don't want your shadow going on to the top piece. That will affect the look of the shadow quite a bit. As you can see, I'm starting to build it. Sorry for the noise. Chris and Sam are outside working on a lawnmower. Okay, so we've got some basics there. Then this is his other arm that's going to also pull up. So we're gonna do some shadow work in here to really separate that shoulder. And you'll see I like to do the line and then add some horizontal lines where I think I want some of the shadow to go out further. Make sure your blender brush is good enough. I think I'm actually gonna turn this sideways for me. Sorry, I know it might, it's hard when you're filming, but I want to make sure I get this right. Now you can see here the paint's drying on me a bit. So I just might need to work it a bit more, but we'll get there. If it starts to dry on you too much, just add a bit more water. It'll loosen it up, and then you'll be able to remove the paint that you need to remove, and then just let it dry. Okay, I think that's starting to look good. Just add a bit more through here. And you can see I got a little bit on the top arm that I do not want it on, so I will just come in with a clean brush and some water and get rid of that. I hope you give this a try. It really does add a ton to the piece. Okay, so you can see we're really building some depth. Now I am going to do just a bit of shadow work here on the back of the leg. This is just to add some interest and a bit more dimension. It won't be as much as there are in the other spots. I will show you. So I'm just kind of going over the edge and then up a little bit. Make sure my brush has some moisture on it. All right, again, just give some dimension. Okay, so now we're going to focus on the head. And you can see we've got the 2 ears. So ear, face part, and muzzle. So we want that headpiece and this ear to really be ahead of these back pieces. So we're going to do quite a bit of shading here. So we'll start. I'm gonna have to turn the piece a couple times. Okay, so we're gonna start here, just right behind the head, and then we're gonna pull out and pull that paint out to stop. It helps with that edge and give it a bit more of a natural. And now we're going to diffuse it. And this will be one I will end up doing definitely a few more passes on to get the depth. So first for that part, and now I'll do this part of the ear. And you'll notice when I diffuse the edges, I'm leaving the darkest amount at the inside of the shadow. So that's where my paint first lies. And so that creates a really nice gradient to your shadow, which is what you want. Okay, so now we're gonna do this part of the head. And one of the reasons you need the small liner brush is so you can get right up to that line. Okay. And there, I can tell my brush is getting too dry, so I may have to get a bit more. Okay, so flip it around. And so you can see we're really starting to build that depth and pull that head out. So I'm going to let that dry before I go back in with another one. So while that's waiting, I'll work on doing some of the separation around the ear. And if this takes a few passes in each section to get it to the depth that you want, don't worry about it. That's what it's all about. It's much better to do many light coats than one heavy one. Okay. So I think we're getting somewhere. So now it's been a few minutes. I'm gonna go back and work on adding some more of that shadow back in here. And use your finger to help diffuse the edge there. It's no problem. It's all just acrylic paint, comes right off. I'm just going to clean up some of that part there. Okay, I think that's coming along quite nice. I think I'll let that dry now. And we'll move on to the muzzle. My paint's got it a little too black, so I'm just going to add a bit more brown to it. Okay, I think that's coming along. So now we'll go back and we'll darken this up. We'll go with one more coat under here. I've given it enough time to dry a bit, I guess. Okay, I think we're getting there. So now I'll do a little bit more here. And must
Can you just wash my hair too?
Okay, so now I'm going to just highlight some of the cuts here, just to give it a bit more dimension again. I've already done some of them. This is really the last one there. All right. Okay, so I think we're almost there. I might hit up the head with a bit more of a line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step away. I'm going to put it up and step back from it. That's a great trick when you're doing any sort of painting to see how it looks and to get a bit of distance. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I step back from it and I'm happy with everything except here. This is it seems muddy to me. There's that line right in there. The cut line is not standing out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to flip this around so I can access it better. I am going to reinforce that cut, and I think I'm going to try with some black paint. So just a tiny amount. There, I think that's helping. And I'm going to do the same thing around the ear. So I'm basically just reinforcing the cut line. And there we go. I think that made the difference I was looking for. I just wanted to get this part separated a bit more than it was. The shadow had kind of taken over the line. I think that's good. I might do just a tiny bit of the black around the muzzle. Yeah, that's quite nice. And you know what? Since I'm going, I might as well do just the tiniest bit of black on the edge of these as well. It's basically just crisping up that line. It's very little. I don't even know if that one needs it. I don't think it does. So it could be that perhaps my shadow color could have been a bit darker, but I like the softness that the brown brought too. So it's just a bit of both. I think I just need to add this to give it some dimension. Just some extra crispness, I guess. And this is where I can play around with these things for a very long time. But it's not always necessary. So there we go. I hope you can see the difference. And it really wasn't a lot of time. This video is pretty much real time. So whatever the length of the video is how much it took me. I want to guess around 15, 20 minutes. So I still want to show you that it is totally flat. One piece. There's no height difference. I didn't change any wood. It's totally flat. But with that paint, we really grabbed the dimensions. So these two legs look like they're pushed back, bringing this all forward, giving the animal depth to the body. The head looks like it's raised and in front, where the shoulder and the top of the neck look like they've been pushed back. You could even take this one step further and do some highlight work. I like to use a gilding wax, gold gilding wax. You could do, or silver, you could do some highlights up around the top just to give it a little sparkle, and that would be nice too. So I really hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, or if you'd like any more videos showing the details of how I do something or painting, please let me know. Please leave a comment. I would love to do more painting videos if there's any interest. So thanks so much. Really, really appreciate you watching.